Hey guys, it's Nicole Eaton with the Rock Your Soul book and podcast, where we talk about how to hack your mindset, grow your intuition, and live your best life. You can support this podcast by subscribing, leaving a positive review, and screenshot and sharing on social media. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Rock Your Soul podcast. I'm your host, Nicole Eaton, author of the book Rock Your Soul, the down to earth guide to mastering your mind, and soul therapist. This is some funky energy we are in. We are in Mercury Retrograde right now. So if you're listening to this outside of Mercury Retrograde, don't worry, there's still a ton of good awesomeness in here for you. But I've done a lot of sessions this week, and there is a common denominator of struggle. And so I want to talk about struggle in a way that will leave you feeling empowered. So if you're in that energy of just feeling confused or feeling stuck or feeling lost or feeling just the heaviness of the world right now for a lot of different reasons, then I'm here for you today and we're going to talk this through. Mercury retrograde gets a bad rap. This planet is known for some bullshit. This planet is known for causing chaos, causing internal disturbances, causing issues in communication. It is known for a lot of not great things, right? You don't want to sign contracts during Mercury retrograde, whatever. So I talked a lot in the last episode about, you don't want to manifest a bad retrograde for yourself. You don't want to manifest. I believe manifestation is powerful, and I believe that you can out manifest whatever the hell is happening energetically in your world, right? And I talked a lot about this in the last few episodes about just looking at what you want rather than what's happening. Like, don't judge your possible future and your manifestation by what you can see, what you already see. What you already see is just a manifestation of past energy, so that we know going forward that despite what's happening right now, we can create new energy by changing our manifestation, by coming back in and saying, do I really believe that this is true or can happen for me? And the other part of Mercury retrograde that we really, really need to talk about is the clarifying piece, right? This time period for you, and again, if you're listening to this and it's no longer retrograde, still this is important. There are periods of time in our life where when things feel messy or feel like they're just not going as planned, it's really important to come back inside and just ask yourself, like, am I living in congruence with myself? This has been the big theme of the week for my clients. Am I acting, speaking, thinking in a way of what is actually true for me? A lot of times we get really, really good at faking our lives in certain ways, or pretending we're happy when we're not, or shoving stuff under the rug, or not, thinking one thing and doing another. And when we do that, we create an incongruence in our internal system. We create basically anxiety. It's called cognitive dissonance, when we're behaving, thinking, feeling in a way that is opposite of what's true. So cognitive dissonance will create internal chaos. So if you're feeling kind of internally chaotic, you have to ask yourself, like, what is true for me? What is what is it that I want? What is it that I really, really want? Am I acting, thinking, and saying the things that I truly want? Am I allowing myself to be vulnerable? I know that can be really scary. Vulnerability is a funny thing. I am pro vulnerability. I am pro vulnerability every fucking day of the year. And what I found over the years is this: vulnerability is the key to happiness. Fight me, argue me. I don't care. I believe that to the core of my being. Vulnerability is the key to happiness. Being open and vulnerable and telling your truth is the key to happiness. Being vulnerable and open with people who are not being vulnerable and open with you can be intimidating, and it can be scary, and it can not go well, right? And so our job is to know that our truth is our truth. Our love is our love. How we show up is important. And we are not responsible for how other people take that, accept that, hear that. So when we're making our congruent choices for ourselves, and part of that becomes getting really honest, and part of that honesty is having to share that with people around you, it's really important that you maintain your own integrity of who you want to be in the world. And I'll tell you firsthand, I have been vulnerable with people who stared at me and said nothing while I was being vulnerable before, who I was crying my eyes out, and they had nothing to offer me, and I felt humiliated after. And so there are times where it will feel like that didn't work out. But the opposite of what you could have done was this, is you could have stuffed that all down, not said it, and then regretted within yourself not saying it. When the truth is finally set out and set free, there's clarity that comes in. And so when we keep our emotions to ourselves, when we don't say the things we want to say, when we don't say how we feel, we hurt ourselves. We hurt ourselves from our happiness, from getting clarity on a situation that maybe no longer serves you and that you were holding on to in hopes that it could or potentially could. And I think that that clarity is invaluable. Like that clarity is so fucking necessary for you to make better choices for yourself. Okay, I was really open, honest. I said how I felt. I was really honest about what I needed in that job and that situation, and it wasn't received well. Then I know, okay, if I was really clear that I feel like I'm working really hard in this job and I'm not getting paid enough, and I was really clear with my boss that I really need more and I feel like I'm more valuable than what they're paying me, or I need less duties, and they say no, then I have a choice. Clarity and vulnerability leads to choice. And if the choice is, okay, I know that I want something more. I know I want something that fulfills me. I know that I want something that values me. Then I have a choice if I want to stay. I have a choice if I want to have more in my life. I have a choice that I know I did everything I could possibly do, and it's still not what I desire. So congruence comes with honesty, it comes with vulnerability, and it comes with asking yourself those really, really serious questions of like, what is my truth of what I want? Because like I said, we can get in patterns of living where we're just going with it and just dealing with what shows up. And we can get in patterns of being agreeable, or patterns of being passive aggressive, or patterns of being avoidant, or patterns of being so by looking at yourself in the mirror and just asking yourself, like, what is my truth about this situation? Where did this come from? What's under the surface? Like, what do I need to know? If I wasn't afraid of how someone might view me or act, or how it might look, like, what would I say? What would I do differently? And then you got to do it. I was listening to, I had to drive to New York last week. It's a 10.5 hour drive for anybody wondering. It's a long drive. So I drove to New York last week and I was listening to Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. Fascinating book. Fascinating book. So I'm listening to Can't Hurt Me, and he's really talking about the voice in our head. Can we trust it? Do we listen to it? Can we trust it? And his big thing is mental toughness and mental resilience. Like, are we only pushing to 40% of our capacity? That's where we start to get uncomfortable, at 40% of what we're capable of. So part of his message really was, how do you hold yourself accountable for the things you actually want? How do you step up and brave the truths of your soul so that you follow through with them? How do you call yourself out on your bullshit when you're looking yourself in the mirror and saying, is this what you really want? Is this who you really want to be? Do you feel like if you just let yourself be vulnerable, if you let yourself push a little harder, that you'd get what you desire? Because half of us aren't living a full life out of fear. Fear that we're going to fuck something up, fear that we're going to be whatever. Whatever. We have so many bullshit fears. It's stupid. Like, it's insane. But part of that is holding ourselves accountable of like, what is it that I actually fucking want out of this life? Like, life is short, guys. I'm about to head to Utah, and then after Utah, I'm about to attend a funeral. And death does some weird shit to me. I got to be honest. Like, it just makes everything feel more pressing. There's a name for it that's like it's a motivation. Death is a motivation. My grandpa is on comfort care and he's going to pass away probably in the next couple days. And yeah, life is short. Are you living well? Are you doing the things you said you wanted to do? Are you staying in situations far past what they're serving you? Are you accepting less from people you'd like to have more? And if you are, why? Have you said it? And if you have said it, are you ready to go? Are you fucking done with that? Is this door closed yet? You deserve fucking incredible things in this world. You do. But you have to also be the one to go get them. You can't sit around and wait for them to show up, because if you've done everything you could, then you know they're not going to. You know that you've got to look for a different option, find a different way, explore something different for yourself. Like, what if you can have happiness and it doesn't have to look exactly how you want it to? What if that can exist? We get so rigid in our brains that we feel like there's only one option in front of us. I talked a lot about this in survival versus intentional living, right? We feel like there's only this one option that will bring us joy. There's only this one option that will make us happier. There's only this one option, and that's not fucking true. There's abundance of options in your world that will bring you joy. And the minute you move past identifying this one thing as leading you there, you have the doorway that opens for you. How incredible is that? That the minute you say, I don't think this is the only option for me. I think there's more. I don't necessarily know what that is right now, but I do believe there's more for me because I know I want a life of peace and joy and happiness. And I know that this option that I've been staring at for the last however long is not working. It's time to stop playing small. It's time to stop doing shit you hate. It's time to stop feeding situations, people, places, things, jobs that are taking your light. Like there's two options with your light. Your light is your soul. Your light is your spark. Your light is your passion. Your light is your essence. And there's two options. There's things that feed it, things that dim it. So if you really just look at everything in your life, and I think of this in like Marie Kondo kind of way, right? She does this thing where it's like, does it bring me joy? Does it bring me joy more often than it doesn't? And if you're looking around at your life and you're like looking at the situations in your life, ask yourself that question. Does this bring me joy more often than it doesn't? Does this dim my light or does it feed it? I was with my best friend over the weekend and I honestly was having just a really challenging morning and just was kind of in a funk. And I called her and I was like, I'm not in a great place. Like, do you still want to hang out? And she's like, absolutely. Like, let's just have fun. And by the end of that afternoon, I was like, oh, everything is fine. And so I just identify her as just somebody who feeds my light. Like she feeds my light. She makes me better. She makes me feel better. And there's people who do that. And then there's the opposite. There's people who leave you feeling worse than they found you. And there's people and there's situations and there's jobs that every day you walk in and it sucks something out of your soul. Are you done yet? Are you done yet? Is that door closed yet? I'm going to ask you that 90 times over because if we're looking at this in this way that life is short, what the fuck are you doing? Why? And for what? And for what? It's time to step back into your light. It's time to take ownership of your life. And it's time to stop feeding into things that are no longer serving you. It's time to stop because you have a beautiful, big existence and life to live, and you get to create it. And when we're not creating, we're just accepting. And when we're not creating, we're not in our power. And the minute you step back in your power, the minute you get clear on these things, the minute you're able to vocalize them, the minute you're able to be honest, the minute you're able to be vulnerable, that is your power. That is you saying, oh, okay, well, I very clearly see what happens. I don't have to guess. I don't have to use my intuition. I just know. Okay. All right. I got it. And now I get to say, okay, well, that didn't work. That's fine. That didn't work. I can be sad about that for a minute. And then I get to choose. I wonder what else I can create. I wonder what else is out there for me. I wonder what else is going to feed my light. I wonder what else is going to amplify me. And like I was talking about in my life, like we forget that the external doesn't have to fulfill us, that the people, the jobs, they're not responsible for they can add to it. They can add or detract, right? But we can also be intentional about creating a life we're fucking wild about. Book the trip, take the adventure, try the class, do the things that make you excited, do the things that make you uncomfortable. My daughter's 13 years old and she's pretty shy. And for the last year, I've been, COVID really did a number on her social life because most of her friends were not allowed to hang out during that time. Like it was just a very isolating time for her. And so she kind of got in her, in her little shell. And so I put her in an acting class. I've taken acting classes before, and I think they can feel really they make you feel uncomfortable 100% of the time because they're putting you out of your comfort zone and into different energy, into different styles. And this girl comes out of that lit up every single class. Like she loves it. And she has used the skills there of being out of her comfort zone, and it's extended to school. She's making new friends daily. She's trying out for auditions and clubs and things that she wouldn't normally try out for. And so my suggestion for you is to throw away the old stories. Start from scratch. This is a blank slate we're working with. This is a blank slate we get to create with. And that's really cool. that means everything. That means everything is up for grabs. That means everything can go. That means everything is possible right now. And I feel that. And like, I know we were talking about the energy of retrograde being struggle, but the energy of retrograde is really clearing and possibility. And when we clear, we make room for possibility. And when we clear, we get clear within ourselves. And when we clear, we get congruent within ourselves from any place we were incongruent. And again, incongruence is just not thinking and acting and believing in the same way, right? Is they're not cohesive. They're not all the same. So your job is really to go within this week, to go within who you are, what you desire, what you're not saying, conversations that maybe you need to have. And again, we're not responsible for how other people receive your vulnerability. We're not. And sometimes being vulnerable when other people aren't doesn't feel great, but it's important because your other option is to hold it all in, stuff it all down, and then you just have that to live with, that you didn't say the things you wanted to say, and you didn't ask for the raise you wanted to ask for, and you didn't try that thing you wanted to try, and you stuff it all down, and you never know what the hell will come of it. But when you're honest and you get an answer or no answer, at least there's clarity. At least you have a choice from there of, oh, I said my piece. I did the things I wanted to do, and now here we are. I can make a choice. I don't do that anymore. I know that door is closed for me. And that from there I can open a new one. From there the possibilities are endless. From there there's opportunity literally around every corner. You're fucking magic. You're magic. You're magic. You're magic. You're magic. And I don't want you to forget your magic in the midst of your struggles. And yesterday I wrote something on my Instagram story of like, there's times to force and there's times to flow. And so I want you to really ask yourself amidst this energy of, is today a day where I battle my battles? Do I come up against them, or is today a day I see what shows up and see how I feel when it shows up? Because those are both powerful. There are some days where we got to override our thoughts. There are some days where we have to feel empowered. There are some days where we have to take an active stance, and there's some days where we have to observe. And we can be the observer of our thoughts, and we can go within and we can ask ourselves the questions that are hard. I posted some journal prompts on my Instagram, NicholeEaton.xo, for just releasing any blocks to your higher self. There are times that sometimes we have those external conversations, and sometimes that we have to have those internal conversations. What are you doing? Who would you be if you weren't afraid? What are you afraid of? What happens if we come up against that fear? What's the worst case scenario? So I'm not big on what if scenarios because I think that they can block us, but sometimes when we're afraid, really looking at like, would I be able to survive like the worst case scenario here? Like, what's the worst thing that can happen? I could feel embarrassed for 5 minutes and then I'm back to normal the next day. Sometimes that's a really good question to ask yourself when you're afraid of like, what's the worst thing that can happen if I say this? What's the worst thing that can happen if I go in and ask my boss for a raise? What is the worst thing that could happen if I speak my truth? What is the worst thing that can happen? Because chances are you'll be able to survive it. And when you feel a little indestructible in that way, that's power too. Actually, one of the reasons I wanted to hike this hike, it's called Angel's Landing. It's in Utah. It's one of the most dangerous hikes in the US. I wanted to hike this hike because sometimes I like to increase my self-trust of, do I feel like I can do something scary? I did this a while back. I did a Tough Mudder. It was like 11 miles, ton of obstacle courses. I jumped off this really tall thing, swam through this barbed wire electrocution thing. And I think that sometimes knowing you're capable of things that feel impossible or scary, I think that increases your self-trust. And when we prove ourselves wrong, and it doesn't have to be you hiking the most dangerous hike in the US, but like when we start to prove ourselves wrong about things, when we start to say, that's scary, but that's just fear talking. I'm physically capable of doing that hike. I know I am. I'm physically capable of doing that Tough Mudder. I know I am. But when you know that you're capable of something. And again, if we think about David Goggins only operating at 40% of our capacity and the rest is fear of like, oh, I don't want to be uncomfortable. I don't like being uncomfortable. Being uncomfortable sucks. Get uncomfortable. Push through the fear. Worst case scenario, I get out on that and I don't like it and I either push through or go back. At the end of the day, I tried. At the end of the day, I did it. At the end of the day, I tried every obstacle of that Tough Mudder. Like at the end of the day, as long as you're trying in your life and you're pushing through that uncomfortable energy and you're going after what you want, you can't fuck it up. And so I like to invite the universe into this because, well, fuck, I invite the universe into everything. But I like to invite the universe into this and just say, and guide me. Let me reach my highest potential. Show me how to do that. Show me how to reach my highest potential. Show me what I'm supposed to do next. The next right thing's always there. It's always there because it is. It's always there because I'm an extension of God's source energy. I'm powerful in my existence. I am strong. I am wise. I am capable. I trust myself. I fucking trust myself. I trust myself to do the right thing. I trust myself to say the right thing. I trust myself to know what to do. I trust myself. Keep guiding me, keep showing me the next right path, keep a strong hand on my life and show me the way. I want to live my full potential. Invite the universe into all of it. Invite the universe in, because really when we're doing that, we're asking our highest selves, like, what's the next right move? Like, how am I going to get out of this bullshit way of living into something better? And when we start to do that, we start to hear that little internal guidance, because it's always there. That internal guidance is always nudging you. It's always nudging you. Actually, on the drive to New York, I never pull over. I am one of those like power through, get through it, 10 and a half hours. I got it. Let's do it kind of people. Like I never stop halfway. And for whatever reason, it was like 9:30, 10 o'clock. And I was like, God, I just don't know. I don't know if I'm going to like make it there. And I just started looking for hotels, and I just felt called to like stay at a hotel. And I get to the hotel and I get checked in. My room has a 22 in it. And I'm just thinking, okay, that's my angel number. That's my yes number. And then the next morning, I looked at the little paper next to the thing that was like, oh, rest assured. And it was giving like the name of the woman who was the housekeeper for my room. And it said, rest assured, Miracle is here. And her name was Miracle. And so I was like, I don't really know why I felt called to pull over, and I don't really know what that situation was, but I kind of feel like I was being guided into safety from a situation that maybe, I don't know if there was like an accident or that I could have been involved in. Like, I don't really know, but I know when I trust that guidance, it's intentional. And I know that when we start to invite the universe in, there's little nudges everywhere. There's little, here you go. I don't know, there's always just the universe keeping a good eye out for you. And for me, like, even when shit hits the fan, if I've invited the universe in, then I feel like for me, when I invite the universe in and something still goes wrong or doesn't go the way I want it to go or feels really bad, that I can say, okay, I know my intention was that the universe would guide me to a better spot. I know that the universe, I've set the intention that the universe is going to allow me to be my best and highest self. So if I've set all those intentions and this is coming up, then I know that sometimes things that go wrong in my perspective are things going right, and that they're guiding me to something else. So even when bad shit happens in our life, or when things go wrong, or when things feel bad, we also have the awareness and the option that if you set that intention that, okay, well, this must be part of the plan. I don't know why this happened. Doesn't really make sense to me, but I did listen to my intuition and I pulled off, and man, I guess it was keeping me from something or guiding me to a better timing of something else. The universe is like all knowing. And I think sometimes we forget that because we're limited knowing. We have that finite brain and we don't have the capacity to see all the possibilities. So sometimes even when things, I think I talked about this last week, but I think of 9/11, and I think of all the people who got flat tires or had children who had, earaches that they needed to stay home for that didn't end up in that building that day. And so it's like sometimes when things come up or inconveniences or things go wrong or the conversation didn't go the way you wanted it to, or like when things happen, you also have to remind yourself that like this is maybe still part of the plan. This is still part of the plan because I set that bigger intention and I was honest and I was whole within myself and I was congruent with what I wanted, and if this is how it's showing up, then it must have been part of my experience and my plan that was intended to guide me to my next step. So what can I take from this? Okay, so I can take that, I can make a choice to do something differently. I can make a choice to cut people out of my life. I can make choice to move forward. I can make a choice to find better for myself. There's power in knowing, there's power in clarity, and there's power in intention. And that's, I think, what this retrograde is gifting us all. Clarity, power, and intention. Even in the tough times, it's not wrong. It's not wrong. We might not understand it, but we do have to accept it. And that's our neutralizing power for our harsh emotions, right? Is that when we accept what is rather than what we want it to be, knowing that we did all that we could, we said all the things we needed to say, we asked for the things we desired. And if it didn't work out, then it's just not yours. Are you ready to close that door yet? Is it done? Maybe it's time to move forward and be thankful for the experience and what you know, and intend this is leading to happier times. Intend this is leading you to make different decisions in your life, to be honest, to speak and act in ways that are congruent with yourself. That's the gold. Like when we talk about alignment, that's really all we're talking about is the congruence. Because when we're congruent with how we're acting, thinking, and feeling, that's alignment. That is our alignment. And when we're in alignment, that's where we can grow in our vibration. When we're not in alignment, when we're out of alignment by acting a certain way and thinking a certain way that are opposite, that's when we get out of alignment. And I think when we're in alignment, that's when the good shit finds us. So if your only job is that honesty to act and speak and think in a way that's honest with yourself, and that's your power. I think you guys are off to a really beautiful start, and I hope this was helpful for you. Make sure to follow me on NicholeEaton.xo. You can book a session with me. I'm doing speed sessions and I'm doing regular sessions. So especially with all the travel, I'll probably be available for more speed sessions than anything. So book that on my website. If you're like, what's a speed session, Nichole? It is a chance to work with me via text or DM. It's a minute timer. So we just kind of set, if you've got pressing questions or something specific you need advice on, we'll set the timer for however long you want. And then we'll kind of explore from there if you want to continue. It's $3.50 a minute. So yeah, I mean, it's a really quick way to get just some answers for yourself, some advice, some intuitive guidance, whatever you're needing. And then I have my soul therapy sessions, which are a longer experience that allow you to explore whatever it is you came to explore with intuitive guidance and my history as a mental health counselor. I'm also doing a $111 off through October 18th through all of Retrograde for the comeback course. So this is a course for reclaiming your power, recovering from your past, shrinking it, offering forgiveness, diving through relationships, understanding energy, and manifesting your future. I mean, this course literally has all of my favorite things. It is an incredibly powerful course. There's over 7 hours of content, workbooks. There's so much stuff in there to help you dig personally deeper. So $111 off using the code CCRYS111. I'm posting that in the bio of this or in the details of this podcast. So you can go straight there. You can book and use that code to get $111 off. That'll probably be the cheapest it'll be. So I hope you guys take me up on that. But yeah, make sure you're subscribing to this podcast. Sharing it would be amazing. I appreciate everybody who shares it. That is such a big way to pay it forward for me. And I love you all. I appreciate you all. And I am sending you all good vibes through this retrograde season. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to the Rock Your Soul book and podcast. Take a moment to book a one-on-one session with me or purchase my trainings at NicholeEaton.com. Join the Rock Your Soul Facebook group or follow me on Instagram at NicholeEaton.xo. And if you loved this podcast, don't forget to share it. Thank you.